teacher!
Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be going through example 3B and 4B from page 385. It was reviewed from elementary school and it's just a couple examples that I noticed people were struggling with. The first example, 3B, you got this diagram and you had to figure out what X, Y, and Z was. You could actually start anywhere you wanted to. You didn't have to do X first and then Y and then Z. You could have done it in any order. So a couple things should stand out to you, and hopefully if they're not standing out to you quite yet, they will eventually. Straight lines are our best friends. So when I first looked at this, I noticed that this is a straight line and it's cut into two parts. If it's kind of hard to see with this, you might be able to see it better maybe with the Z. There is a straight line here and it's cut into two parts. And we know that a straight line is supposed to be equal to 180 degrees. That was our SAT theorem, or supplementary angle theorem. And so when I'm solving for these, showing the work is easy, but showing the reason is sometimes the harder part. So Y and Z, you could have used SAT. You could have said Y is equal to 180 minus 67, and that's equal to 113 degrees because of SAT. And you write your reason in brackets so that I know that you knew how to get that. Same thing for Z. Z is equal to 180 minus 35, and that's equal to 145 degrees for the same reason. We also have SAT as a reason. X was actually the most difficult one in this situation. There was two ways that you could have found it, or if there's more ways, you can let me know. But you could have realized that X is across from these two interior angles. So 67 and 35 are interior angles, and X is an exterior angle. So if you remember the exterior angle theorem, the two interiors are the same as your exterior. So I could have said that X is equal to 67 plus 35, which is equal to 102 degrees. And the reason for this was my exterior angle theorem. I'm just going to put X for this one. The other way you could have done it, which is a little bit more work, is if you found this last interior angle and you do the same thing for Y and X. So you could have figured out what this angle is. I'm just going to call this, I don't know, let's call this A. You could have said that A is equal to 180 degrees because the interior of a triangle is 180. Take away 67, take away 35, and that's equal to 78 degrees. So if I know that A is 78 degrees, then I would do the same thing that I did for Y and Z. I could have said that X is equal to 180, take away my angle A, which was 78 degrees, and I would have gotten the same answer. So there was many different ways that you could have done it. Please make sure that you are organizing your work so it's very clear what your final answers is. I always like to box in what your final answer is. That way it's very clear when I'm marking it on an assessment. This is a good habit to get into. And you can also label your work like I did this first, I did this second, and I did this third. So that's how we did 3B. In 4B, you should have realized that there are parallel lines this time. I have a parallel line here and a parallel line here. These symbols denote parallel. And also I have an isosceles triangle. These two sides are the same by these ticks. So generally, if you see that there's an isosceles triangle, you can figure out that these two angles are going to be the same. So I'm just going to put this is the same as this. The red is equal to the red. So there's a couple of things going on. Again, you can start at X, Y, or Z. It's totally up to you where you want to start. The problem is that I can't really figure out what X, Y, and Z are in one step. You might just assume that Y is 65. And in this case, you are correct because it is an isosceles triangle, but we're not 100% sure if this works for every case. So you want to make sure that you are 100% sure. So what am I 100% sure of? I'm 100% sure that C pattern between two parallel lines, and the C is denoted in green, these two angles add up to 180 degrees. So if I denote this angle as A, I can say that angle A, and this is going to be my first step, so it gets really complicated sometimes, so I would number your steps anytime there's a multi-step problem. A is equal to 180 minus 65, which equals 115 degrees because of PLTC. That's the first step that I'm going to do. So now I know that this is 115 degrees. So if this is 115 degrees, that means that I can now calculate what this red angle is, and I'm just going to call this red angle B. So step number 2, I'm going to figure out B is equal to 180, because this is a straight line here, minus 115. So B is equal to 65 degrees. Oops. And I just realized actually that you didn't actually have to figure out what A was. You could have just done PLTZ. So PLTZ looks like, where's the pink here? This is the backwards Z. 1, 2, 3. Think of your crab claws. This is cupped and this is cupped. So B is equal to 65, which is what we got. So my original intention was that this is because of SAT, but it's also because of PLTZ. That's the other reason why it's 65 degrees. So there's many different ways you can figure it out. So if this is 65 degrees, we know that this other side is also 65 degrees by ITT. So if you want to name this C, C is equal to 65, and I don't even need to show any work because the reason is the work enough. So if C is 65, therefore, this was step 3, therefore X is equal to 115 degrees by SAT. And for step 5, Y is equal to 65 because of PLTC. And you can see like it's flipped. There's a C pattern on one side, there's a C pattern on the other side as well. So that leaves what Z is. Z you can just take out, again, there's one full straight line across from here. So my last step is Z is equal to 180, take away Y, which we said was 65, take away another 65. So therefore Z is equal to 50 degrees because of SAT. So again, I actually did more work than I needed to because I forgot about PLTZ. You'll notice that there are many different answers. You might be doing more work than you need to, but that's okay. You're still arriving to the same answer. So my final answers I want to box in, which is X was 115, Y was 65, and Z was 50 degrees because of SAT. So please keep in mind that you want to start numbering your steps so that I can clearly follow along. And that's it. Hope this helped.